Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joe, and I am a weapon of mass instruction. Today is Wednesday, November 7th, 2012. It is about 3:35 in the afternoon. So, yesterday, the corporate sponsors have spoken, and they have chosen the welfare state over the corporate fascism. Sorry. My nose is killing me. I tried to vote, but I'm still registered in Pike County and it sucks. I even filled out that form. Sorry. That form that I was supposed to in order to get my registration moved to Monroe County where I live now, and it did not go through apparently. Doesn't matter. Well, for a number of reasons. Let me count the ways. One, because the popular vote really doesn't matter so much. If nobody voted, if 0 people in the United States voted one day, the Electoral College would still vote. Didn't matter. Even if the popular vote did change anything, found out this morning that Pennsylvania was by yesterday afternoon, Pennsylvania was firmly in the grip of freaking Obama. So me voting for Gary Johnson would not have changed anything except to at least add one more name to the roster of people that really care. Now, I'm sure most of the people that voted Romney or Obama, they really care too, except they don't understand. Or you vote third party, you're taking a vote away from Romney. No. Vote third party, you're fucking voting your conscience. Anyway. So the corporate sponsors have spoken. Yeah, really not surprised. I wouldn't have been surprised if it was Romney either, but I'm not surprised that it's Obama. I want to check the stats. Freaking, I want to find them because of that parent slip up that somebody found where they had put up the election results on a freaking scroll bar at the bottom of the screen back in October, where it said 43% for Obama, 40% for Romney, 40 million votes for Obama, 37 or 38 million votes for Romney. I want to see if that's the stats, if that matches exactly. And if that's the case, well, then we caught them in a slip-up. If it's not the case, then maybe it was a hoax, or maybe it was just something that was misunderstood. Doesn't matter. What does matter is we're still prepping for disaster, because disaster is going to strike sooner or later. They're going to raise the debt ceiling again. They're going to print out billions more dollars, if not trillions. The American people are still going to play with their monopoly money. And then one day it's going to go poof. But probably not before Obama starts World War III proper. I say World War III proper because, of course, one presidency and another, World War III has been going on for a good long while now. The war on terror. Bullshit. Absolute, utter bullshit. And I'm not demeaning the service that our military members have gone through, you know. But they're just as misguided as the rest of the sheep. Most of them. I'd say there's a higher proportion of people that are awake in the military than civilian-wise. But things have calmed down considerably around here. Gas stations are quieter, less traffic on the roads. So I wouldn't go so far as to say that it was a false alarm following Sandy, but it was a good taste of things to come. Good taste indeed. Hopefully people over in Jersey and especially New York, gotten enough of a taste to where it would be great if millions of them woke up to the fact that the government cannot save our asses. If anything, they can only make it worse. Because how many people relied on FEMA to provide stuff, and FEMA had to scramble to get the food and the water there? There was not enough to go around. Shocker. So I was fortunate enough today to be able to sell some stuff to a pawn shop. Got some gas money. My ex helped out. I'm definitely going to pay her back one day, but in the meantime, I got some gas. I got a little bit of coffee. I splurged, I admit it. I got a little bit of ramen. But I also spent a good 2 hours going up and down Main Street filling out job applications for places that are not currently hiring. Thanks, Obama. Again, not that it really matters, but it's somebody to point a finger at, and that's what the corporate sponsors are after. It doesn't matter to them who the people are going to point the finger at when the shit starts hitting the fan and hard. We can blame Obama all we want, but in the end, he's middle management. He's the pencil pusher in the scheme. He's not the big dog. Corporate bankers are closer to the top. So we can point fingers at them. But who's really at the top? Is it aliens, demons? Something as simple as some hidden secret families. How did I end up all the way in Martinsville already? Damn it. I'm wasting gas there. Oh well. I'll just rubberneck and look at the cop stop there. What I'm going to talk about is the levels of preparedness that I started to go over one day when I was observing all the traffic at the gas stations and everything. Freaking, I mentioned Class A preppers, that is to say people that don't prep at all. And I want to apologize for making that reference to nothing. Little fender bender. It's basically a reference to nothing because I had meant to upload a video prior to that, but for whatever reason the video wouldn't upload. So when I made that reference, I forgot that the video that I was referring to was not up there in the interweb. But what I was referring to is something I was thinking about. There's basically 3 main classifications of preppers. Make that 4. I'll go over that in a minute, but Class A would be people that do absolutely nothing to prepare. They leave their lives in the hands of the government and the people in charge, so that when the shit hits the fan, they're the ones that are running somewhere, running to wherever they think help is going to be. The people that are not ready to the point where the day of or the day after the freaking hurricane, they're out looking for gas, looking for food, looking for water because they don't have any. Because all their food went bad in their fridge when they knew that there was a storm coming, knew for a week or more that there was a storm coming, and they did nothing. absolutely nothing. You know, the ones that didn't stock up on firewood if they had a fireplace, or make any sort of provisions for power or any sort of sustenance. And I understand that there's, you know, people that literally did not have homes to go back to. And that's, you know, that's understandable. That's pretty bad. And I bet some of them did have some sort of a kit ready so that they could head out and survive. But, you know the ones I'm talking about. The average sheep where, you know, the day of a hurricane or the day after, they're raiding the freaking grocery store. There's, you know, no reason for the locals to go out and about because they know how swamped it's going to be. And I didn't realize how swamped it would be here in PA because we really didn't get hit that hard, at least in my area. But they came swarming in from Jersey and New York. So that's your Class A level of preparation. Class B would be the ones that are ready for storms and all that sort of stuff. They have food stockpiled, water, medical supplies like first aid kits. They have extra fuel, which I understand that you got to rotate that fuel because otherwise it goes stale and you can't use it as well. But, you know, like some of them do stock up immediately before a storm, you know, warning or all that stuff. So they are relatively prepared. But of course, there are plenty of those people who didn't have enough fuel. And you could tell the ones that had like 8 or 10 freaking 5-gallon or 10-gallon little drums of for gasoline or kerosene, especially, you know, those guys. Those are the ones with like generators or kerosene heaters that did not have enough fuel. They you know, they thought they'd, you know, be out of power for a day or two. And lo and behold, there's no power for a week or more in their area. You know, and they're right up there in the gas station with the rest of them, trying to get more fuel. You know what I mean? So in a way, some of them are as good as Class A's, but some of them are at least a little bit better prepared. And the distinction I want to make there is if you're going to prepare to the point where you got a generator set up and you know you're not going to leave your house or your home for a while, and you're getting everything stockpiled there so you don't have to move, have the forethought to stock up on fuel. Have the forethought to make sure you got at least one type of firearm ready. Long arms, pistols, shot, you know, anything. With plenty of ammo stockpiled as well. The reason for that is, well, if you're in a neighborhood where everybody lost power, and you're one out of maybe 2 or 3 in that general area who has a generator, it's not so apparent during the daytime, but at night, especially if you've got no light management skills, you leave the lights on in your house and stuff like that, people are going to see it. People are going to see, wow, there's that generator running, they got lights. And they might not do anything at first, but give it a week or two, you know, especially in more built up urban areas where less people have the ability to prepare to any great deal. You know, they're going to start getting froggy. They're going to start looking and saying, shit, there's heat, there's running water, I can take a shower, they got food, they're set up. What's going to happen is sooner or later, you're going to get raided by people who are looking for that shit. I'm not saying that everybody would be after that, you know, but I bet there would be plenty of people who are willing to sacrifice their own code of ethics and morality in order to get a warm meal or a warm bed at whatever cost to them or others. So that's something that you really got to keep an eye on if you're in any sort of built up area, or even out in the boonies, you know, even if you've got maybe 2 people down your street and freaking nobody for miles, even then, like, practice noise discipline, light discipline, you know, place that generator well back from the road so it's less likely to give off noise. Put it in a shed, you know, be careful of fumes, but put it in a shed to muffle the noise, you know what I mean? Or a lean-to, or something of that nature, so that people from the road can't tell that you're running a generator there. Watch your lights, you know? Watch your lights. As soon as it starts to get dark, boom, turn off all the lights. Just as if you didn't have power. Use candles. You know, that's fine. But if you're going to run a generator, you don't have any idea how long that disaster is going to affect you. And if you're ready to go, if you're ready to freaking have that shit running for weeks, then be ready to defend yourself, because eventually people will come. Some of them may be peaceful, like begging for stuff, and some of them may not be. Some of them would rather just shoot first and ask questions later. You know what I mean? So that's your Class B level of preparation. Class C, it's not really a higher level of preparation, but a different method, I'd say. And in a way, it can be the best out of the bunch, because you're more flexible, your plan of action. And Class C would be, you know, you got your bug out bag. It's a nice big bag. It's got literally all the stuff you think you'll need to survive out in the woods with no support. Freaking knife, multi-tool, 550 cord, duct tape, med kit, food, water, changes of clothes, fishing line, fishing, hook, freaking moleskin patches, poncho liner, tent, sleeping bag, e-tool, machete maybe, all that stuff. Like, you would be able to live out of your backpack for weeks and weeks and weeks, if you had to, and those people especially, you gotta think about arming yourself then, because you're on the move. You're going to be more likely to be under threat either from a natural predator or possibly from running into people who might not be so friendly. But you're ready to go out in the woods or the desert or wherever you live, out in the wilderness, and freaking survive. And that's what I'm going for. That's what I'm trying to do with my kit. Partly because I live away from my daughter and her mother. And if the shit really hits the fan to the point where they can't just bug out and go up to Massachusetts where there's no problem, or freaking, over to Jersey where there's not, where there is still power. And that was kind of funny, because, Jersey was a lot closer to the epicenter of the storm. Even though it did track through Pennsylvania, like a lot of Jersey got hit harder than this area, even up where she lives. And yet, the power was out there for a good long while. And meanwhile, freaking the guy she knows in Jersey, his power was on within like 3 days. Like, imagine that. Sorry. But yeah, like, that mobility, I think, is a really good idea. And I can go either way. I don't have anything stocked up where I live, but I made sure to, bring over, when I had money to buy all this stuff, I bought shitloads of canned goods. I bought shitloads of bottled water, and I brought it all over to where she lives, and she was like, where the hell are we going to put this? I was like, put it in the pantry. Don't touch it. She did start dipping into the water, especially when the power was out and she was staying there for a little bit, but that's fine. That's what it was there for, emergencies. But there we go. So I could, if I had to, I could hike all the way to where she lives, like good 25, 30 miles away, depending on which route you take if you're following roads. But if you do have to travel, best not to follow roads too closely. Stay off of the beaten path. If you're right up on the sidewalk, people are going to see you. That might not be so good, especially if you're loaded down for bear. Which is like, if the shit hit the fan and I had to freaking walk to her house and survive while I'm doing it, I'd be walking around with my freaking Galil, with my shotgun. At that point, I wouldn't be terribly worried about how people are going to take it if I start walking around with my assault rifle, because at that point, it's like freaking literally survival of the fittest. And I'd rather be prepped for the worst. than leave it in the hands of other people. So that's your Class C, you know, ready for mobility, good level of field craft, and that part, I'll be honest, I'm not terribly great at it yet. I've never been hunting, although I do know, you know, academically how to go about it. The last time I fished was when I was a kid, but you know, depending on where you go, it's not too hard. You know, but in the end, small game and even deer is not a huge deal around here. The deer are next best thing to domesticated. They've been around humans for so long. You know, over where my ex lives, the deer are freaking friendly as hell. They'll walk right up to you and sniff your hand if you hold it out and stay still, you know? And I've done that numerous times, thinking to myself, you're going to be dinner one day. Yes, you are. But there we go. 21 minutes, okay. And that fourth classification of preparedness is something else entirely. That's the, you know, the raiders, the bandits, the people that totally just say fuck the law, fuck the police, and they're gonna go and do whatever they fucking want. You know, that's gonna be the bad seed of any survival situation. And you know, we see it in the media. Any post-apocalyptic freaking themed game, movie, TV show, there's always the good survivors, the settlers, the people that want to rebuild a nice form of society, the ones that want law and order and are just trying to eke out a living. And then you got the ones that are freaking taken, not giving a thought to farming or hunting on their own. They're going to let other people do it and then fucking take their shit and live that way. And there will be people like that. I guarantee it. That will be a very large element, especially right off the bat, with a lot of people that don't know anything about survival, but maybe do know a little bit about how to shoot a gun, might grow the balls to freaking hold somebody up and be like, give me all your fucking food. I need food. Give it to me. There's going to be a lot of that if the situation gets bad enough. So you got to be ready for that. You know? Those people at that level of preparedness, they might have a little bit of survival kit, probably just shit that they can scrape together, but more likely than not, they'd probably focus more on weapons than anything else, you know. They would be about mobility as well, but they'd be about taking it from others, taking the mobility, you know, hijacking a car in order to get somewhere, or freaking stealing gas from a gas station, you know, and I was totally expecting that. The couple of times that I had to fuel up during this whole thing, anytime I went to the gas station, I was especially watchful for somebody who, you know, didn't have any money, but had a gun, you know, and was willing to go to any lengths to get his gas. But that's pretty much what I got. Oh, and part of that Class B as well, I mentioned it a little bit. Farming, canning food, you know, starting a garden, all that stuff. That's part of it too. If you're really going to be prepared there as a Class B prepper, then that's pretty much key. And that's something I know a little bit about it. I know the basics of plants need, you know, water and nutrients to survive, and they need good soil in general. But, you know, like I said, I won't be staying where I live now. I'd be moving. And unfortunately, where my ex lives, there's nothing but freaking rock. So there'd be no farming there, no gardening. And, you know, she wouldn't touch it. She would be like, you planted it, you take care of it. But she's not a prepper at all. She's a Class A. You know, if it wasn't for the fact that I brought all that bottled water over, they would have been hurting for water after 2-3 days. You know, they would have been hurting for water. She doesn't stock up. She doesn't, you know, keep an eye on non-perishable goods. You know, she would not have had a way to cook meals or even eat them cold if not for all my canned goods and shit. But those are the people you got to watch out for, because, you know, like, they're going to run and they're going to run and they're going to run. You know, they're going to look for help wherever they can get it. But when there's no help to be had, you know, what are they going to do? Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that, because I'm going to try to apply for a job here. And when I'm done filling out that application, I'm going to go pick up my daughter. But before I go, real quick, I am really grateful today. I'm grateful that I was given the means to survive, that I was able to make it to the pawn shop to sell off some of my stuff. And I'm grateful that I got people that are willing to help me out, you know, knowing that I'll pay them back. And in some cases, people that are paying me back and on their own, like, not even really me asking for anything, and it's good. I'm not, like, you know, I'm not being greedy or anything, but when I really need gas, somebody's there with $5 or $10, you know, so I can keep on looking for work. I'm grateful that I had enough food to live, you know. I'm grateful that that I'm healthy, and that I have a clear enough frame of mind to think about things like this when others around me might not. I'm grateful that I'm grateful to be alive. You know, thinking about all the stuff that people are going through. In places in New York, apparently still no power. It's like the Wild West there, like hearing about what's happening in the Rockaways section of Staten Island. Wow. Like, that's the shit that I'm prepping for. And it's happening there. You know? Like, freaking lawlessness. The cops don't want to go in there because there's so much bad shit going on. There's freaking no power, no running water, no sanitation facilities, like toilets overflowing. People are, like, scrambling to scavenge whatever food they can find. Maybe lucky to get a sandwich all day long, and they have to split that sandwich 4 or 5 ways, you know? But, you know, I'm grateful for everything that I have today. I'm grateful that it hasn't been all taken away. Even though I had to give some of it up, I sold my Xbox, you know. Okay, so now I don't get to poison my mind with video games. Cool. You know, that was bad shit anyway. At first it was like, okay, I got an hour here where I'm not doing anything, I'm gonna go to sleep, and it turned into like a 3-hour marathon, into freaking, you know, there were a couple of days where I was just feeling so down and didn't want to freaking go out and look for jobs, you know, and it didn't happen all the time yet, but freaking I was getting to the point where, like, I was about ready to start saying, just fuck it, play video games. So I got rid of that shit, and I think in the long run it's gonna be good for me. And that's all I got for you, you know? If you can be thankful for anything, be thankful that you're in a clear enough state of mind and you're alive and healthy enough to be watching this, you know, that you have the ability to do so. All right, y'all stay safe. Peace.